Hello and welcome to the United Film Podcast. My name is Greg Randolph. I'm a writer and director from Boston, Massachusetts. This podcast is an opportunity for me to tell you about filmmakers currently active in the UK from around the world. Today, actor Neil Bishop is on the podcast. Neil grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa. His feature film credits include A Working Man, Craven the Hunter, Deadly Gossip, Beautiful Wedding, and Breaking Infinity. He also played the lead in Marion's Lilies, a dark murder mystery featurette. Neil Bishop, welcome to the United Filmmaker Podcast. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm very well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Neil, it's very nice to meet you. This is the first time we're meeting.
It is.
Dorian Bagnon actually introduced us. He is the producer of this podcast. He's come in for the third season, found us this lovely location. Great guy, and he produced Marion's Lilies.
He did.
Which you acted in.
I did,
You were
yes.
the lead.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant film. I mean, it's really, really cool. It's this kind of deep dive, character-driven type of film. It's got this kind of tension to it, and I really enjoyed watching it. And it's just always a pleasure to meet a new actor really dedicated to their craft. So I'm grateful for Dorian for introducing us and getting this podcast going. I think, like the key of this podcast is really about, emerging filmmakers, emerging actors, anyone. And that's like a loose term, right? Because it's a kind of that scale. But I hope this podcast can be a way to introduce people who've been on it before, people who want to listen to it, who are interested in making movies. Maybe they see you and they listen to what we're talking about and they have a great idea for a film based off that you could be a part of, so.
No, absolutely, and I love that idea, and I love the fact, especially with Marion's Lilies, that it was... it seemed like a lot of people who were fresh out of school. When I first took the job, I thought it was an actual graduate film.
Oh.
My agent didn't tell me a lot about it, and it was only when I was on set that I found out that it was kind of the first film post-graduation, and
Cool.
It's that collaborative process that brings everyone together that I absolutely loved about it.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's the more you do with less sometimes. Like, I can see, I guess maybe part of it is that coming from the film school background, so when you're watching it, you're kind of unpacking different things, which I think maybe a regular audience might do less of, whatever that regular audience might be. You kind of whatever you envision in your head is like a typical audience or something like that.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated it for that, actually. Like, I thought it was like, it really held its head high, and like the cinematography of it is really incredible. And I really appreciate the emotions you go throughout the film. I want to talk about it in more depth towards the end, because
Sure.
I generally like with these podcasts to do a bit of a timeline and learn a little bit about what brought you to acting and what brought you to filmmaking. I know you're originally from Johannesburg, South Africa, which is really interesting, and I'd love to talk about. I've actually been before. I went for the 2010 World Cup.
Oh, wow.
A long time ago, and really enjoyed it. Got to stay in like a bed and breakfast there with like people from all over the world, and was traveling to Durban, and didn't get down to Cape Town, but
did you not? Oh,
did
that's
a lot.
a shame.
I know. It was like the one thing. We were in a rental car, so we were kind of just bopping around, but really enjoyed the experience there. So I'd like to ask you that. What was it that, like, early on in your life, or I don't know, who knows when the bug got you, but tell me a little bit about, like, kind of what fascinated you about movie making and acting and whatever it was, and how that kind of grew.
Yeah, absolutely. It started with my brother, actually. He's about 3.5 years older than I. We're very, very different characters. I was always sports mad growing up. Cool. Anything with the ball, and I tried it, and he was the complete opposite. Had no hand-eye coordination. Is very intelligent, and he loved film, and that's what bonded us. We used to go to the cinema together growing up. Every time we used to meet up even into later life, that's what we would do.
Cool.
And he actually wanted to be a director, so he had a camera from a young age. Used to film us when we were out on dog walks, making small little movies here and there, and making these kind of spoof adverts.
Very cool.
And that's where we started. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think we were in an advert in South Africa at about aged 5, maybe.
Oh, wow.
My mum was doing it for something, and they wanted some kids as well in a separate scene, and so that was my first time on set and introduced to the whole vibe.
5
of it.
years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it it was a long time after that I got back into it, but
Okay.
it certainly gave me a feel of it, and I remember loving the day on set there. But it was very much my brother and my kind of thing that we did together.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. So can you tell me, so it sounds like that, I mean, that is very clear, like there was that love for movies and going to the cinema, right? I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Mm.
Was there like a movie or an actor or something that immediately you went, oh, this is cool. Now it sounds like he had this disposition for directing and kind of being behind the camera a little bit more, and I'm curious a little bit more about like what types of movies you guys were interested in and what really fascinated you.
Yeah, it was. I remember. I mean, Lord of the Rings was a very powerful movie for me at the time, and I forget the age that I was, but I remember we went on a school trip. We walked down to the cinema as a whole school basically, and watched it. And that one in particular, but all films. I don't think Lord of the Rings was Universal, but I just remember the Universal slogan coming on with the world spinning and the feeling that I got every time I sat in the cinema.
Yeah.
And thinking from a very young age that it would be amazing to be able to kind of instill that same feeling or work on things that instills that same feeling that it does in myself.
Cool.
But Lord of the Rings definitely, just the spectacle of it, the soundtrack, everything about it, I absolutely loved.
Yeah, it's just you talk about world building or something like that, and obviously coming from the great books, but like, yeah, what Peter Jackson did for it was just like, holy shit, like, it's just amazing. Cool. And then even like the extended edition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could just spend like a whole week watching and it was just like cool.
I still haven't done the back-to-backs, but I should do it. I should do it one day.
One day, yeah. Like there's going to be a time for that. That's really cool. I have two questions that like usually I would ask this one a little bit later, but I want to ask, so what was it, so you kind of found this passion, so how did you pursue it? Was it school? How did you kind of do more? What led you to London? You know, I imagine that was part of it. It was coming here to pursue acting. But then I also have a question like, so if Lord of the Rings was a big inspiration early on, are those the types of roles that you look for? Like, are you looking for kind of action, drama-oriented stuff? Like, just again, kind of doing a little bit of research, it looks like it kind of a thriller category in a way, action-oriented. Are those the types of things that interest you? I'd like to hear what you think of that.
No, absolutely. It ties in with my childhood of the roles that I would love to play, certainly while I still can. With my sports background, I absolutely love anything movement-based. Cool. And anything as action-heavy as I could possibly do. And I keep saying, as much as the roles, I prefer a bit of a grittier role than that comes with a typical action film. Whilst I still can, I would, because you can learn so much in this industry when you put into a role. I've just come off the back of working on some of the Witchers and just seeing what stuff they do and what you're able to learn there, and the sword fighting and the horse riding and all of those things is just amazing. So whilst I still can and I'm able to, that's definitely the line that I would like to go down. How I kind of got into it in the first place was through school. I was doing more drama based. It was more stage stuff, musicals. Growing up, I wasn't able to take it throughout the entirety of my schooling career because of certain subjects that you could choose with others. So it fell by the wayside, unfortunately. And also sports I was kind of going along the track in terms of potentially becoming a pro sportsman or kind of that track way of cricket and rugby. And so there was very little time for anything else. And it was only after coming out the back of that when I was probably in my early 20s, I was living down in Bournemouth. My brother he studied computer animation and then completely changed tact, joined the military for some reason, unknown to us. And whilst I was living down there, I was still deciding what to do, applying for the military as well. He suggested, he's like, why don't you get back into the acting? Obviously, you loved it when you were younger. And I started to do short films. Signed up whilst I was applying to the forces to some SA extras agencies, and again got that kind of feel of being back on set. And that's something that I would actually like to talk about today is the difference in opinion or view of SA work or crew work within the film industry from an actor's point of view, as opposed to what I think it is in the States. The States is not very frowned upon as far as I'm aware.
I'm not so versed on kind of essay work in the U.S. Interestingly, like again, just kind of getting to know each other since this is our first meeting. So I was undergrad for me was English major, film minor. So I was very interested in film, but very much learning kind of what my pathway was going to be. I started editing on Final Cut 7 at the time. They had a little edit studio there. And like a film minor program. I went to Providence College in Rhode Island and just kind of took to it and loved making films when I was young. It was always just like a joy. And like I always laughed the most at doing it. And maybe took a little bit of break kind of at the end of high school, you know, just being kind of like immature a little bit, kind of just doing what I wanted. But definitely going back to school and thinking, well, damn, what am I going to do? I think film was just like far and away the most like exciting. And I felt like editing was a doorway in for sure, because I think I always thought directing was interesting, and I was always looking at directors when I was watching films that I loved growing up and otherwise. And I didn't, for some reason, I just didn't out the gate want to say, I want to direct, because it felt a little too brash or something like that. And I felt like I needed a secondary skill. So I really took to editing, and lucky enough, right after school, I found some freelance work at ABC News in New York. My family's originally from New York. Okay. And yeah, it just took from there. Like I was freelance for quite a while. I ended up finding a full-time job at NBC. So I worked in post-production and television for many years. And then, yeah, from there, was still really interested in getting out and directing. Wasn't really getting those opportunities with a full-time job, and I just started my own company and started doing music, all the things you do, music videos, documentary things, whatever came my way. Had a little ad on Craigslist and you know, my website and things like that. And then COVID hit, and out the back of that, here I came to London Film School, and that is where this podcast blossomed for sure, is because I went, damn, I couldn't find a filmmaker for my life. Even at it, when I was working full-time at NBC, like it was tricky to get people to want to come with me to make a film outside of the 9 to 5. So coming here, and all these people that are just super enthusiastic from all over the world, you know, LFS is quite international school, has like reinvigorated that. So the podcast is really kind of like a testament to just like, wow, now I have like a plethora of people to talk to that are all trying to do movies. Whereas before I couldn't find one to save my life. And that's partially because of my education, I think, a little bit, and kind of like the film school really filling that gap. And then, of course, doing the films that I want to do, like in tandem with this podcast, is I see it as like as networking. Yeah. And yeah, it's working great. You know what I mean? It's just like nice, So
it's also, I was going to ask you a question about how you think or how you feel about the way that the industry in the States seems to be heading in comparison to here, where it feels like a very different vibe at the moment.
I can't tell you. I just wasn't like I did. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, and when I was home for COVID, Knives Out, the second Knives Out, yeah. I think it was the second one. There's a studio near me. It's partially a lighting rental company for events primarily, but they had a huge studio and they were building sets there for the film. Okay. And but this was in this was during COVID 2021. So I was seeing some film happening, picking up any jobs I could in Boston, which isn't. It kind of varies. I think Little Women was also actually filming during a period of with Greta Gerwig and that cast, but. So there were, there would be blips around, but I didn't feel like I had access to that, especially where I was coming from. And I think for me, it just very clearly started to realize that film school was going to be my way to just jump into a group of people and really be able to work and start to make the films that I wanted to, which really did end up happening, which was nice. In regards to like, I never really spent much time in LA. Like I've only been once, and it never really called to me. I never thought, oh, LA is the place. I love Hollywood movies, right? I love it's definitely part of me. But European cinema was always really interesting to me as well, and it made a lot more sense to make. Like, because you were dealing, I think, a little bit more with like just emotions and kind of like, I don't know, the independent industry, just when I would watch it just made more sense. I think Hollywood sometimes it just can be so Maximal and stuff like that, where it's like, how the hell did I even get involved?
That's what I mean. It's much. You look at it from a way of getting in, and it must be a lot more daunting. Yeah.
So I mean, then you got Trump saying, hey, we're going to tariff all films outside of the U.S. We're going to bring the industry back. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that. I think a lot of people are kind of questioning what exactly that's going to do, and I'm just unaware. I'm maybe a bit ignorant of just what's actually happening in the U.S. in regards to films. All I know is that in London, there's a lot happening, and I have a lot of friends working on, Fantastic Four and lots of different Apple TV films, lots of studios within a small radius. And so the idea would be, well, if I work super, super hard, maybe one day someone will hear my name, and there would be a potential. There's also like different schemes. Like I've applied for it looks like an HBO trainee program that's tied in with Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And it was perfect because like I've been doing these low budget feature films with a production company here in the UK. I've done about 4 of them now, and that's what they were looking for. They were essentially looking for a director, preferably maybe out of school, who had done some low budget feature stuff, some long form stuff.
Yeah.
And it was great. So I applied all that. And so who knows, maybe they hear of you, maybe not. Maybe it's you have to know somebody. But
fingers crossed.
Those types of things, like that I'm noticing here, I don't know about in the States, really. It's a bit of a question mark to me. So I try not to concern myself with what, you know what I mean? Maybe I go back to the U.S. one day, and maybe L.A. has a job, looking for a director or looking for a producer in a way that I can fulfill. But I think for me, my head is kind of down here, really.
No, sure, and it does feel like at the moment, certainly this London and the UK as a whole seems to be a lot more going on. I know Scotland has a lot, Wales also has a lot, and I know some friends out in LA who work on the crew side of it, and they say that the industry has changed a lot over there. You obviously had the fires as well at the same time, which was kind of the double impact. It was a really, really tough time over there. So something does need to happen. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I think there's. I mean, Hollywood it's not a bad thing. It's offered so many amazing films, and I think European cinema and world cinema and Hollywood have influenced each other in so many amazing ways. So I don't wish ill on the American system or anything like that. I would love for great films to be made there. Yeah. I'm also like, just personally speaking, I know not all Marvel or like. That kind of outcropping of films has all come from the States, but it wasn't like in regards to accessibility, like I think for me what inspires me as a writer and director is a relationship and being able to depict a relationship in a way that is like seems truthful, and that is something that I think I can do here. And then I think once you've started to master what that relationship is, you can make any type of film you want.
Yeah.
You can make an amazing horror film or an amazing a superhero film or whatever. But it's all about like that interplay.
Absolutely. And more about the story rather than the business. And
exactly. So that's where like that independent kind of mindset for me really is special. And then anything's possible, because then anyone's going to watch, whether it's on an A7S or a Alexa Mini or whatever camera you shoot on, they're going to notice there's something going on here, and like the writing is speaking in a specific way, and the camera angles are speaking in a specific way, and that kind of all is like a director kind of that it's all grouped together by the director. So it's that's my own little thought on it. Could you just tell me just in regards to the clarity? So what brought you to London? Was it school or was it?
No, so that's kind of what I was getting onto with the essay stuff, and what I thought was the difference between the US and the UK is I kind of first got into the film industry properly through a bit of essay work. I'd done shorts down in Bournemouth, because Bournemouth's quite a good filmmaking university.
Yes.
And that's where I started to kind of learn the craft a little bit. But then the trade side of it, if you will, was learned a lot on set. I think one of my first essay jobs was Star Wars. Cool. I knew an agency that was opening up and became a Stormtrooper on that, and was lucky enough to. I was named as one of the core Stormtroopers, so I was on set a lot. And then I got from that some connections and got offered a stand-in role on Jurassic for Chris Pratt. And it was during that, even though in the UK certainly it's quite frowned upon from an agent's point of view.
I see.
To be kind of working as crew on sets. However, I believe, and obviously I'm going to be biased towards it because that's the route that I've taken, but I believe it's such an important part of, especially screen acting, is to know that side of it. And there's no better place to learn that as a stand-in, because you are standing in the middle of set. Jurassic, I had to do all the lines. We had to learn all the lines on the day, do all the rehearsals, and it was such a big learning curve. But so that was my move to London.
I see.
Was because I'd started working more in the film industry. My goal was always to act, but crew work, stand-in, doubling started to pay bills.
I've heard actually the producer we had on yesterday, Jordi Morera, he for a while he was working as an SA, and he said it was like totally livable wage, like there was a lot of opportunity there, and I think it's fantastic. I mean, like, by all means, like I don't know, in the States, I don't know in regards to the like if it's frowned upon or otherwise. I mean, that in my eyes, no, but I'm not sure agency wise. Again, I think where I'm coming from, and again, this emerging filmmaker mentality, I've reached out to agents. I have not, been able to like secure that kind of, and like start to get into that world of like what an agent is expecting or looking for. I think for me, it's, I guess I always just look at it from, right? You kind of look at it from your own thing, and you say like, I guess even the mentality for me, like looking to direct some of these low budget features is, well, if you can get paid and if you can direct, then take the opportunity, even if it's only 5 or 7 days, or it's not easy, and you have to kind of fit it in with other jobs to make it all make sense. But I mean, for me, it's like, I think it's like an all by all means type of method for it. And I think that sounds like a bit of what you're describing, is like get in there, learn on set, and see what you can rustle up. I mean, you must have made lots of connections doing these types of...
No, absolutely. And I do understand the viewer approach that you don't want to get known for the wrong things.
Sure.
And that I can understand. But I think there's very different ways of going about certain things and conducting yourself on set in a way that essays, certainly over here, that there is a stereotype about them. It's a fraction. There's maybe 5% on set that are actually like that. The rest of them are fascinating people, like everybody in life. But it is about the connections. And unfortunately, I don't come from a family who have a family business that I can drop in and out of and earn a living and then going. And similarly, you've got, it's kind of an age-old kind of joke that if you say to someone you're an actor, they go, okay, what coffee shop do you work in? And I just found it very odd that it might be preferred for me to work completely outside of the industry just so that I wasn't an SA I haven't done SA work for years now.
Sure.
I've done stand-in and doubling, but I just, in my mind, I was like, why would I not engross myself in this industry that I love, that I can be learning from, and that the connection side of it, I never walk onto a set as a stand-in or a double thinking this might be my big break. Now that might be on me, but no, it certainly has put me in positions. On Jurassic, for example, the director J.A. Boyana, lovely man, amazing directing style as well. From doing that, and we were doing the lines at every take, he then said, okay, I want to give you a small little bit part in it, just as a thank you. And you learn what a DOP loves. You learn what all of the departments do, because I just imagine if I was fresh out of drama school, walking onto a set, as I've worked with some people who have first days on set, and you'd be like a kid in a candy shop, not knowing what's going on, and there's just so much pressure around it. If I hadn't had that experience, it would just make things so much harder and more daunting, and I'm so grateful that I have done that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really one of those things. I think you have to follow your nose, you know what I mean? And you have to go after what makes sense for you, and that goal, your goals are going to drive you to do that. And then you never know what opportunities, like a good example is, even me getting involved with these feature films was through vertical dramas that I was doing. And those, I mean, I guess we're talking about different worlds and like what's frowned upon, and maybe acting, which I'm a little bit less aware of, even though maybe I should be as a director. Whereas in directing verticals, I'll have a couple on. Actually, I'll have on Friday, I think I'm gonna have 2 actually the person who runs this studio has done many vertical dramas. And
Okay.
I'll be speaking with him on Friday.
I've just done my first one wrapped last week.
Yeah, and some people would say, oh, that's frowned upon for this and that, but then you kind of look around and say, well, hey, listen, we can pay the bills this way, and we can learn, and you can meet people who then take you on that next journey that you want to go on, so it's a struggle, and there's no perfect answer to it, but it's amazing because this is what the podcast is meant to discuss, is like kind of making amends with that a little bit, and just thinking about how that type of work would fit in with this aspirations, which I will get to as well, because that's what I'm going to ask you at the end of the podcast, is kind of looking forward a little bit. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So my next question is, so it sounds like I've got an idea for kind of what brought you to the UK and the types of work. I've got a general timeline for basically up until now. But can you tell me about a project that you really enjoyed working on? Because I do want to talk about Marion's Lilies, Beautiful Disaster, and Breaking Infinity for sure. Those are kind of in my mind. Mm-hmm. But maybe you can tell me about, between then, these films, which I know happened in kind of 2021 on, can you tell me about something that really you enjoyed working on and that you felt was really special to you, or just something that kind of spurned you to keep working? I'd love to hear about it's something I don't know about, just would love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few over the years. I think a lot of the ones have been kind of post-COVID is because of this... the issue that I will go on and describe, having to pay the bills, having to do stand-in work, your contracted work for months on end, and I could never get into the room. And strangely, COVID helped because everything became self-tapes, and so I could earn a living working in the industry as well as tape for things. So that's why since COVID, my career in terms of the acting side has definitely progressed more. The strikes really put pay to that for a bit, but before that, there was a film called The Cliff, which was a feature length. Again, it was a kind of a postgraduate final film, but it was the story around it that I really liked. As I said previously, as much as I'd love to do action now, I'm really driven by the characters that are played in this. And this was I played a teacher who was just really struggling with mental health in his life, and he formed this strange relationship with his therapist, who kind of overstepped the mark and became somebody he became dependent on, and it culminated in them both taking their own lives. You don't see it, but you're standing, and it just brought up some really interesting topics of conversation and thoughts in terms of what the role of a therapist is if somebody is completely set. And it's a really tricky subject, suicide and those kind of topics, and I found it absolutely fascinating, and where the line of a therapist does finish, and where they have to draw the line. If somebody is wanting that and truly wanting that, how far can somebody go along in terms of aiding it? And it, again, what I said earlier is I love the collaborative process of these lower budget or student films. It's everybody has to get involved with other things, and again, my time on sets and much bigger sets has stood me in really good stead in terms of being able to help with continuity, with knowing what crossing the line is, and you're sometimes working with filmmakers who don't have that experience, and you're able to go, guys, I think we're about to cross the line, and it just makes things a lot quicker and clearer. But those kind of projects I still enjoy, which, as I said, I've just done my first vertical.
Yeah, tell me about
that. Similar kind of thing, a much lower thing, much lower budget, very quick. You're doing about an hour and a half film in 8 days, I think it was, and it's. I enjoyed it. I knew some of the people that were working on it, which helped. And you can always take something from it. You can always learn something from it. And what I learned from it is that you need to be firing on all cylinders from take one, because you're potentially only getting one or two, and you're having to move on.
Scrambling to get the shots to do 20 scenes, 30 scenes a day, something like that. It's absolute madness. 2 cameras usually. I'm not sure if that was your experience. And usually it's this high drama, kind of soap opera-y kind of mentality. I directed 2 of them. Again, that's kind of how I got in contact with the person I'm working with now, the producer I'm working with now. But yeah, and it's a lot of London Film School grads are working on them, directing them, DOPing them, and otherwise. So yeah, I think it's actually a sign of the trend of like the times. Like it sounds like millions of people are watching these all around the world.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it, and it's eye-opening.
Devoted to it. It's super popular. It's episodic, so you're paying by episode in a lot of the circumstances, and each episode kind of leaves you with a cliffhanger in regards to some outlandish kind of family drama or some type of people getting slapped and pushed in pools and like all this. It's kind of silly, and it's I think it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be something kind of just you throw on like and just. I think honestly it'll translate into like the movies you watch like in other places, like, and I don't mean that in like a negative way per se. Like I think there's actually probably a lot of room for like fun, like a fun kind of like silly performance that might go into something that you would generally kind of want to view itself as more dramatic and serious. Maybe we've hit a wall with just overly serious drama or something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think positively about where this might go. I think that's the fun of it is like, right, because I look at even the London Film School grad films and stuff like that. Generally, those are more serious, more art film oriented types of film. Not all of them, but it'll be interesting to see like all these directors and writers who have been so focused on doing these because to pay the bills and things like that, to maybe then go back and want to make their own film, which they all, I'm sure, do,
Yes.
And see what they might take from it, And it's interesting, like I even spoke with Jumbo Yu yesterday, who I've worked with on many films. He's a director of photography, and he's worked on several vertical dramas since we've last worked together. It's really interesting to even just how we talk, like you have to talk so quickly on set and you have to communicate so much. I've noticed since we worked together on like Turn 2 and 3 films, our ability to communicate quickly, even on a podcast, is like so different. It's really interesting, and to think quickly, I think it's part of like the digital filmmaking revolution, albeit, so many years on, is like how we're taking just the digital camera and reimagining, how quickly we can do something and what type of filmmaking we can offer that is still good, still has like a meaning behind it in some ways. So, but that does come at the cost with the vertical dramas of having to move hyper quickly, and sometimes that can be a little bit, what's the word for it?
It's quite demoralizing as well. Demoralizing, and I don't think anybody who's working on them goes, "I'm absolutely loving the script and I'm doing it for that." And it does pose some issues with that when you are receiving these scripts, and
it's very AI oriented as well. Now, I'm not going to say every script is AI written, but I am sure that the 2 that I had a lot of AI oriented aspects to it, and that's a whole nother question.
Yeah.
And what's cool about season 3 of the podcast, I haven't really had many vertical. It sounds like you just had yours, and I'll be having some more vertical drama directors who have been doing them the past couple of like year or months, and it's interesting to start to talk to people more about that, because I think I agree. Yeah, this is demoralizing, and just the pace at which you're working and the content, it's questionable. But there again, it kind of all goes into this bag of like what an actor will do to get a part, whatever that might be, and how do you even like make a vertical drama reel? You start to, it's interesting, like even just as an example, the person that runs this podcast has essentially like a bio that completely spells out all of the vertical drama work, in different countries. I know that there's work happening in Istanbul. It's happening everywhere. So it's I think it's a relatively new phenomenon, and it's interesting to talk to people about it, because I think that's the first step towards like us taking a little bit back from essentially corporations who are saying, do it. What I mean? Do this for our phone. We got the apps ready. We're ready to make a ton of money on it. And at the cost of like rushing around a cast and crew for 5 days and like basically like no sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a fascinating world. Because I had to leave The Witcher a day early to start this job. And everybody I was speaking to about work that we were doing afterwards had never heard of it. And it's amazing how many people haven't heard of this world, but how big it is in certain places. I know in China it's huge. One of the previous films that this production company just released, the vertical drama, had 1 million views in the first hour, which is just, when you're talking about those figures, but that is also part of it that's quite demoralizing, just in terms of a humanity point of view of
well, you talk about doom scrolling and all this kind of like what people are interested in, right? What's that saying? It's basically saying, and this is great, I've been meaning to have this conversation for a long time now, like just in regards to like, what does it mean? You know what I mean? It's so important to talk about working hard and then figuring out what it means. And I think audiences, they want to be able to just turn the brain off for a little bit and watch something that's kind of high drama. I mean, but that's not been the case. Like you look at Jerry Springer, you look at anything from any time period, and it's this way to kind of just evoke kind of the things that, like, you call it lack of depth, or I don't even know what you call it.
It kind of pries on our basic human instincts and our biology, our makeup, and the fact that people are still watching this, despite the fact that we've progressed as a society and our civilization to what you would think would be beyond that point. It just shows that we haven't.
It's kind of like an ebb and flow of things. Yeah, like, right, you'll have great progressions in one aspect of society, and then it'll all come falling down on another side. And it kind of just shows you this kind of like cyclical nature of things. I think it's always about, like, if we're talking about it being, having these negative effects from it, and obviously corporations having positive effects from it, money-wise, then it is a pushing back, though, you know, and it's how we, and that's why I think I go back to like these LFS grads going out and having done 9, 10, 15, 20, 30 of them, is that what would they take from that and then put into something that would be meaningful to them? That's part of the silver lining of this type of stuff, is like, is it just their ability to work on set and communicate incredibly quickly? I think one of the things, I'm not gonna say the only thing, but is this idea of like working this creative intuitional side of things, where it's like, damn, like, even though I'm being pushed up against it in the short term, right? Because the plan, I ain't doing this for the rest of my career. It's I can think so quickly on the spot in case the worst thing were to happen on like a film that I was writing and directing and had put all this money in and was really like super devoted to. But I guess that's again just me kind of trying to be an optimist about it and trying to but it's definitely something. It's interesting to think about, and it's interesting to kind of try and grapple with and figure out how we take back. And kind of get out of like a vicious cycle like this, where they're going to try and like really like take advantage of cast and crew and either not pay or do all these different things that. But I think it's something that I'm still developing in my head, and I think there would be actually like approaches that are like concrete that you could have, and I think it's about individuals coming together. You know, that's the only way you can would ever be able to like push against something that's kind of a corporation that's kind of created this kind of app or whatever you want to call it to push this content, you know?
Yeah, and I think as long as you get into it knowing that you can get something out of it in terms of your own growth, learning, and especially if you are a young filmmaker or an early days filmmaker, you can get a lot out of it in terms of, as you say, that collaborative process. I was speaking to one of the producers on it, and I was saying, because we were constantly behind on the schedule, understandably so, and I said we just need to streamline the process in which we take on every scene, and so be that blocking immediately, then you've got the intimacy coordinator coming in, and then the stunt coordinator coming in. We just need to have, because you are so short on time, you're able to get that in place. And I think it's also, it would teach you to look at it more from an editor's point of view, potentially, which is probably where you have quite a benefit over other directors, is that I'm working with a director, Steven Surjik, who is on The Witcher season 2, I think. Cool. And he has such an editor's mind that The script supervisor would often come up and be like, Stephen, we haven't got this all over the shoulder. And then he's like, it's fine, I don't need it. Yeah. I'm going to cut before that point. And to know that process already when you're filming, it just saves so much time.
For sure. I mean, that's why I did it. For sure. It's just like, I went, what's like the key? Because there's so many interesting ways that people will go, oh, that's going to be my edge when I decide to direct. Like Pablo yesterday, who I was speaking with, who just wrote and directed this really brilliant short film. He came out from a writing perspective. He did the screenwriting program. He had always been a writer back in Spain, and he said writing is kind of the key. And I think for me, I kind of thought, well, editing is kind of the final step, and that would be me rearranging everything and understanding. But I see his side of it, and I understand why I went my route. But that's part of what's fun about having these conversations, is starting to really get the sense of like, what was their plan to kind of be able to kind of conceptualize a film that was really special. But yeah, exactly. I think having an editing mind, whatever that, even as an actor, I think is really key, because you can there's specific movements that an actor can do that are perfect cutting points. It's really what really makes for good actors. Great. Okay, this is great because we've had a little discussion of vertical, which I've been meaning to have. I want to talk, before we get to Marion's Lilies, I want to talk about Breaking Infinity. Really cool film. Really it's like really got this like intensity to it, kind of, and I feel like it kind of fits like what you're looking to do. That there's, it's hard to describe, but it's there. Can I read the log line?
Yeah, please do.
A scientific researcher who has become unstuck in time travels to the ancient past and distant future, where he witnesses the end of the world, an apocalypse that he may have caused. I mean, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
It is.
It's so many questions. Like, it reminds me of a film I'd make, because I think in my log lines, like, it's just springing like a bunch of different questions, which I think is what you want from a log line, right? You just want to like be like, oh great, you've built a world for me with about time travel and and the apocalypse, and so can you tell me about the film? Like I kind of like loosely define that. Like, tell me what you remember from it. Tell me whether it's maybe some pre-production stuff, some preparation as an actor, because we haven't really discussed that, like your prep as an actor. And I very much sense you have a method. I mean, as all actors do, but I see your method, especially in Marion's Lilies, which we'll talk about in a second. But talk to me, just tell me about the film, tell me about your prep for it, and how it all came about.
No, sure. I mean, this was quite an interesting one in terms of the approach and the method, because the premise of the character was that he has, at the start of the film, no memory of what's just happened, and it's quite an interesting approach to play a character. I always related it, if you've seen the film Memento.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant film, but it posed the question of how to prepare for a character who's not meant to be able to remember anything. I will say that it's one of the hardest scripts that I've had to try and get my head around, just in terms of the storyline, because it has kind of these three different timelines running. And I remember many times on set, I had detailed notes and of what kind of timeline we were in. But there were multiple times it was myself, the director, Marion Dean, and the script supervisor, just making sure that because for continuity reasons, we really needed to make sure that we were on that, because it was so easy to slip up with that. And I think it shows that the writer is, as far as I'm aware, he was a first AD on Star Trek's. And it just shows, because a lot of the level of the script and the terminology used and all of that was quite accurate.
Cool.
The producer's husband, who also plays the female lead, Zoe Cunningham, her husband works in AI, as a very intelligent man, and he read the script and he absolutely loved it. I think it is definitely for an audience that wants a film that they can think about.
Yeah.
It's not a second screen film, as a lot of people are throwing around these days. In terms of my process, I needed some actors will tell you that you don't want to know the script too well, or the lines too well. With this one, I needed to know the ins and outs of everything, and my process is know the story in and out completely. The lines, yes, I can understand the not knowing them perfectly, so that you're still kind of searching for it. You're making it realistic in the moment. But this one, I needed to know everything about it, in spite of the fact that the character's not meant to know anything about what's going on.
Yeah.
And it did help, because I do get hung up on the continuity being right, and the smaller things that I notice from my standing in, that things are missed here and there. But when I am watching a film, if I notice a blaringly obvious mistake in continuity, or a piece of the story that doesn't quite fit or doesn't make sense, it completely takes me out of the viewing experience, and it really bugs me. And so when I'm performing on something, I like to make sure that as many of those holes are covered over or thought of beforehand.
Cool.
Yeah, and in terms of Liam as the character, it was a very interesting one to be able to play, because you had to try and kind of have the nuance of somebody who doesn't really know what's going on, but the character himself is meant to be this highly intelligent scientist, who through the film is kind of regaining some memories and figuring out what has gone on in terms of him starting the unraveling of time through this time machine that they've created.
Cool.
And it was trying to kind of amalgamate the two of those as it went on, which was tricky, but it was very an enjoyable one. Again, very collaborative as well, because it was low budget and
and shot in the UK.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Whereabouts? Because it looked like you had multiple locations. It was out in
it was
Scottish
3
Highlands.
Wales.
Wales. Okay.
Yeah, it was up near Bangor in Wales, North Wales. Absolutely stunning. Yeah, the opening was beautiful with that. And then one of them was down in Kent. And then a disused army base somewhere. I can't remember for the life of me where it was. Yeah.
How many days of shooting?
I think 18.
Cool.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah,
18, 300,000 budget, I think, with marketing. So it was a...
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, very cool, man. Like I think that's like the definition of like pushing forward and getting a film under your belt like that is really cool. And I really appreciate this script comprehension angle of things. I think I've struggled a little with script comprehension, but again, like kind of just the repetition of doing these like lower budget films and things like that, it's just facilitated like my understanding of a script that someone else has written so much. Because I think when I'm reading a script from a directing standpoint, there's many things happening at the same time. I'm trying to understand what's being written. I'm trying to understand the characters in the story. I'm trying to visualize the story as well. And sometimes I'll read page to page and I'd be like, what did I have to go back?
Yeah.
And slowly I'm starting to really get all the nuances of each page. And then it's about bringing in your actors to like bring those characters to life. And then the actors are doing the extra research to figure out what they were doing before the script happened and what they did after the script is done. And I think that's the special kind of like director-actor connection, is that it's like together we're offering each other that perspective on like, and that's all in effort of like the story of like bringing the story to life, you know?
And I when you mentioned you were speaking to a friend who is more of a writer-director, I'm quite intrigued as to how the relationship with actors is with that, because I've never worked with somebody who has I did it with Marcello, but I haven't done a lot of work with writer-directors, because that must be a whole new dynamic when the writer brings what they think is the character, and an actor's job is to also create their own version of this character that they believe to be true, and it must be tricky if those aren't aligning.
Yeah, I think, well, you know what, I keep going back to this quote, Bong Joon-ho, 90% of the job of a director, or 90% of the kind of that portion, I'm butchering it now, is casting.
Yeah.
And then you're right, you're looking through, you're doing your auditions, you're figuring out who's the right actor for the role. And then I think this idea of micromanaging after that is too much, you know what I mean? You let that person bring the character out and define it in their own way. That's what's special about it. Is like you've written a blueprint, right? But that's just words on a page, you know, and now we're here. You
have to trust them to bring that to life. Similarly, as a director has to trust an editor, which I still find mad, the process that a director will take something and they film it in a way that they would love to see it, and they give it to an editor, and in some cases have no say in it, and just have to trust. And they can change the whole film.
But see, that's what's fun about directing, I feel like. If you have a really solid idea of what's in your mind, even if it's not your writing, right? And you're reading, okay, sits on the couch and the two have a conversation, one standing, one sitting. If you're filming it in a way where and again, it almost goes into that editing mentality, right? Where it's like, I know how this is going to cut together. It's not like mind reading or trying to control the mind of the editor or this person or that person.
Yeah.
But even like when you read, like what I'll do sometimes, like when it's really, really fast paced, is I'll like read a scene with three actors, and I'll be like, okay, what do you guys think? You tell me. You know what I mean? You tell me, like based off of where we are, what we've been given a location for, and then I have the DOP right there, and you guys give me a scene. And then the DOP, and then we go, well, did that feel all right? Are you happy with that? Yeah, this is perfect. This is what we want. You know what I mean? You're not telling me, as the character, I'm going to do what I want. You know what I mean? I'm going to sit or stand or be angry or be silent in my whatever that might be. And the DOP then goes, okay, this is perfect. I'll get the shot here. I'll get the shot here. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this angle. And then as a team, we kind of adjust and make it happen. And then I think, translating that into the edit, me as a director, I can talk with the DOP to be like, yes, that will cut. I know it will cut. And then you give it to the editor, and you try not to do too many angles that you're not happy with. And then the editor doesn't have the choice to use those angles. They'll use exactly what you know what I mean? It's a little bit of like control without even being in the room. Yeah. It's just giving them what you want.
No, absolutely.
You give them what you want.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about it's just reminding me the DOP and doing that blocking with the actors as well. It's something that I knew before, but learnt more on Verticals about how important it is. Yeah. Again, I can get quite kind of pedantic about certain things, but an actor who approaches things without consideration of the filmmaking process, the DOP, the shots, it is really, really frustrating to me. And it's something I've learned with the standing in. And during the Verticals, I would say that the DOP would be off somewhere, and I'd say, can you come in, watch this blocking? Because it's pointless us agreeing on something that feels good for us as actors and being like, if it's not going to work for the shots. And it's that collaborative process of thinking of everybody, because there is a way of the actor being happy with the movements they're doing and not feeling too constrained by that, because that's often what they say. I don't look at marks because I want to be free to do it. It's like, but you can't film something like that when a focus puller doesn't know where you're going to be standing on any given point. That's again what's so interesting about this vertical drama and this kind of super fast pace, because you got focus pullers who are like in the moment, right? Just making sure the focus is good, and maybe the actor is super trained and hits their marks or doesn't, and and then you got to do another one and in these fast-paced things, sometimes they hit it, sometimes we got to do another take, and that's kind of how you have to live in that kind of almost documentary kind of world. And it's just a little mad. It's a little mad, but it's just how it is with I think digital. Not to like point, but there is a digital aspect of it that makes it that way. What makes me happy, like, and what makes me feel like I'm doing as a director, like I'm following a path that is right for me, is the actors often tell me I feel free. And that makes me happy, because it's like they are free within their I'm reading that as they feel free within their character to do what they want. Yeah. And then we're coming there to film it. Yeah, which is great. And it was going to be a question that I asked you. Are you more of an actor's director or a technical director? Because I do believe that you've often got the one or the other. I'm not going to say I'm both. I think you can be. I honestly have more experience shooting and editing, but working with actors is my favorite thing, because it's humans working with humans, and that's like a normal, not in front of a monitor. Like you are when you watch the shot, you're in front of a monitor, so you never really escape the screen. But like, I think it's just nice. I really like that feeling of making the actors feel free, right? Like, and saying, okay, we've read the scene. I want to stick to the script. I'm not going to completely throw away the script because I don't want to get a producer angry at me or something like that. We're going to do as much as we can with the page. And if we hate the dialogue or it doesn't make any sense, we have to change it, because I'm in charge of the story, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to give a story that makes no sense and it was written poorly or was confusing or whatever. So we're going to make sense,
and we're going to do what I think the actors like with the DOP in the room. And so again, to talk about like a camera person versus an actor person, I think I develop a good relationship with each person, and I usually try and, like, for even a quick film, like if we're shooting in a week or something like that, I call everybody. I call the PD, I call the DP, I call the editor, I call anyone who's involved. I say, hey, I'm Greg. If you haven't met me before, I say, this is the film. This is what I'm thinking about the film. I maybe make some notes and I send it to them, and like, and then that way everyone has. And then when you're on set, you're not just introducing the actor for the first time, or just saying hello to the DOP for the first time, or this person. No one feels at it. And if someone wants to make a big fuss, no, I'm not pointing to sound guys. I love sound guys, but like, if anyone wants to, be a little bit of like, whatever, having a funky day or whatever, you just kill them with kindness. You know what I mean? You just say, hey, listen, like, how can I help you get what you need? You know what I mean? If you need an extra take, if you need a water, if you need to sit down for a break to make you feel good, let's do it, because we're a team. It's a village. It's like it becomes very ritualistic. It becomes very, I feel like it kind of becomes tribal. Yeah. Like, especially when even 5 days, you know what I mean? Because you're seeing them 12 hours, you sleep 12 hours, you're eating together, everything. So, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know if that answers anything. I find it is like, each is very important, right? Like, that's, I think, a good leader. A good leader is somebody who is elevating everyone else. Because you'll catch, I was thinking about this like the other day, you'll catch 100 fish as a strong person on your own. You'll catch 1,000 fish with a team that is all aware and all empowered,
and working towards the same goal. And that's the thing that has surprised me working on a bigger budget and bigger production things, is how little there is that, I keep mentioning it, that collaborative process of, even though everybody is wanting the same end goal and working towards that, it's unbelievable how departments can be so selfish, for want of a better word, and only thinking about themselves. On one of my first films, on Jurassic, I said to one of the gaffers, or to the gaffer, that a light was in the way and Chris was probably going to knock it, and I said, even if not for lighting, it's going to be bad for sound. And he went, that's not my fucking department, I don't care. And I went, wow, it was such an eye-opener. I thought we were trying to make the same thing here.
I think it can become, because I think that's why we're sensitive to set of pace and the feelings you're getting from pushing yourself too hard, is you can get a lot of what's the word? People that are just demoralized. Yeah, demoralized. That sounds like somebody who, I mean, there's so many jobs you can have outside of film, right? Like to make money, right? We're here. I think we come here because we love it and because we have passion for it, but you can become just as demoralized as any other job. So I think that's coming from like lots of sets where there are, and I think it stems from the director. I see the director as the creative leader of that group. The producer comes in and does their bits, the executive producers, but the director is that creative leader. And if you've got actors that are happy and feel free, the crew responds to that, because the crew's working. It's different types of hard work, right? You've got this emotional capacity as an actor and memorizing lines and being in the moment. And a crew is there every step of the way, moving physically, all that stuff. So you guys are in tandem doing different things, capturing the feeling. And it's just, I'm sorry, I lost my thread a little bit there. But like, I think there's just something that needs to be considered, and it comes from the director, like this, just say, like, after a take, after 11 hours, everyone's doing a good job. Yeah. Everyone's doing a good job. Not just you. Everyone's doing a good job. We're working as a team. The sound is going to sound amazing on the 11th hour because you stayed in there and you didn't, it's not my job. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here. What the hell is that? That's bad energy. Yeah. And that's going to create a bad... And we all know, we've all been on film sets with bad energy, and it's terrible.
It is.
It's terrible.
It filters down, as you say, very much so.
Okay, let's talk. That's great. I think Breaking Fin, we got like a really cool thing. I'll link it in the bio of the YouTube video, and people can check it out because it's totally worth checking out. Marion's Lilies. Yes. Produced by Dorian Bagnon.
I like that you look at me. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be speaking right now, but for like a sense of security.
Absolutely.
I need the help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're so correct. You're doing
Nailed it.
You are doing a great job.
You're doing a great
See,
job.
that's what I'm talking
All
about.
of you are doing a great job.
So let's talk about Marion's Lilies, produced by my good friend Dorian, starring Neil Bishop. Let me read the story. Let me read the log line, and then we can talk. I think I want to talk about prep again for it, just because I think this is a special, unique role, and then we can talk about again just kind of things that came from it. Reeling from the murder of his wife, a man spirals into darkness and loses himself in the hunt for the killer. So yeah, I mean, it's a again, without giving it away, because I think it's about to do its festival run. It's just about complete, which is really exciting. Just tell me about a little bit of the prep for this role. Again, yeah, I don't want to give away the story, so we have to leave some cliffhangers here. But I think we can give just enough to get people to want to go see it.
No, sure. I think the hardest bit of the prep for this one was, I am lucky enough to not know what this feels like. I have never been in a position where I've lost anybody. I've lost grandparents, but nothing through kind of other than illnesses and old age. And for that, I'm very thankful. But that's part of being an actor, is getting to those kind of places. And a big part of the character was the deterioration of his character and his being and his mental health as well. And so a lot of the prep was making sure, again, when you're not filming things in sequence and in story order, you've got to make sure that those are tying up. So you might, on the first day, you might be doing a scene that comes much later on in the film, and it's having the prep in place to know that this is the point that character is going to be at in this scene. Yep. Rather than, because it can happen, and it has happened when I've not been thinking about the story order or the filming order of something so much. Yep. And we filmed something, and then I get later on in the project, and I'm invested more, or I'm feeling it more that day, and the emotions are so much more heightened, and I go, oh, well, that's not now going to match with what we filmed that day. Cool. And so that was a big part of it, and it was really interesting exploring that deterioration. And there are parts of this character, very far from all of it, luckily, but that I see eye to eye in terms of getting that retribution and getting what's fair. So kind of the subtext of it is the character trying to look for the person who has killed his wife. Yeah. And it's the spiral that he goes in, going down the rabbit hole of trying to find this person. And it's happened to me where I was burgled soon after moving into a place that I was living before. My bike got stolen after a week. I found it, got it back, found out who stole it. It was a guy that lived on my road, and he ended up burgling me 4 months later. Now, I knew this. I knew it was him. I had got some CCTV footage from a van on the bike burglary, and then I got some from a flower shop, of all things, with this film, with the burglary. And I could prove it was him. I just needed to basically get that to the police and for them to do something about it. And it was a small part, but it was a part of why my relationship broke down with my ex many years ago now. But I was so determined on getting kind of justice for this, because I knew it was him. He still had some very sentimental jewelry and cameras and all of these things, and I was hell-bent on getting these things back.
So you applied it.
So yes, I know parts of that character and how that can, and I mean, obviously with the death of somebody or the murder of a close
vendetta, or to get back, to get some justice,
absolutely,
some vigilante justice.
Yeah, right? Absolutely, and that is unfortunately a negative side of my personality, is that like fairness is a big part of what I believe in, but that can produce very negative behaviors. And I remember my girlfriend at the time saying, let's just leave this. And that's not part of my being, unfortunately. So part of the characters I could see eye to eye with that. But no, the rest of the prep was very much involved talking to Marcello, the director. Yeah. And it was really interesting working with, I'd never worked with a director like him before. I was impressed by so many of the crew. Max, the DOP,
Brilliant.
I cannot speak more highly of the
beginning shot is really, really memorable. You know, really, really story oriented. I was talking with Barbara at lunch just like how important the first shot of a film is, and then the last shot of a film as well is also great. I mean, that's a great kind of mirror. Giving away maybe a little too much, but yeah.
No, absolutely. And I remember being blown away by Max whilst we were filming, because a lot of it was his own kit.
Yeah.
A really young guy had taken a loan out, I think, from his dad, and was just making it work. And you could just see the passion. Like, it was one of those things where he's like, oh, can we get this shot? And it's like, well, we don't have time. And it really would bug him because he wanted it for the shot.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about these smaller productions, is that you do have that fire. It's not just another day at work. Like, people are there. It was, I had one day filming where I'd done a day player role on something during the day, and then we had a night shoot, and I drove straight there, and it was, I think it was about -4, -5, which it helped to keep me awake. But people were there, they were enjoying it. We were getting this great stuff.
The adrenaline starts to go.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that part of it. Sometimes more so than these big sets where you're in your trailer and you're just waiting for the knock, off you go. You don't really know you're not involved with the making of it that much. You come on for your 45 minutes and then you step off again, and the rest of the crew are there for the entire duration of it. But going back to Marcello, in terms of why I asked you the question about whether you're a performance driven or a technical driven director, I've not worked with somebody who's so performance driven as he was, and passionate. I mean, he's an Italian background, and he lived up to it with certain things. And it was just amazing when you got a take that he loved, you very, very much knew about it, and he would come on, and it just hyped you up for what you were doing, because you could see he was so happy with it. It was quite scary when the opposite was the case. When there was a take, for example, a scene in a graveyard, and we were losing the light quite quickly, and you could just tell he wasn't getting what he wanted. Okay. And so the kind of flip reverse of that, it was getting in my head a little bit about it, and we were trying to get there, and it made it a bit trickier. But then we got there in the end.
Nice.
But it's interesting to having worked with that.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, it sounds like a good dynamic and a good experience. How many days of filming was it?
That I cannot remember. It was a couple of years ago now.
Really?
If I had to guess, I'd say 11, but I could be completely
because it's quite long short. I think it's almost 35 minutes, something like that.
Maybe even longer.
Yeah, it's a little longer, at least than a lot of LFS films.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't.
It went by very quickly for me. Like, it was just it was a solid watch. I was really enjoying it, and I was really enjoying like that. You can see that breakdown, man. Woo! There's like one shot in particular where like the eye starts to go just a little bit, but it's like you're trying, and maybe you were trying to pull some of that energy of having worked during the day and then working at night, and that like kind of tireless energy that I think would kind of fill you if with the kind of the subject matter at hand.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate there's some thoughts and ideas on it. You know, I wish we could talk ad nauseum about it, but I really see these as an introduction. So then my last question to kind of round everything out is, what are you interested in doing in the future? You know, you want to keep pursuing feature films? Like, it sounds like you're renovating your home. Is that what's happening right now? I saw you got side projects going on. Ziggy in early days learned how to ride a motorcycle. Yesterday, Jordy used to be a chef in New York before he got into producing. So we've got all these, people that know so much more than just like this amazing craft of making movies. So tell me.
No, I mean, the renovating of the house at the moment is taking up all of my time. I've got the cuts to prove it. That is very much from a standpoint of wanting to set something up which will allow me to have the time to act. Yeah. Rather than being, still if I'm working in the industry, hopefully, but all of my time taken up by that, because years go by before you know it, and you haven't done a role, and you just fall out of the kind of the artistic juices of it. I would love to try some theatre. I unfortunately was going to be doing my first kind of small adult theatre role end of next week, but there was a change in the script quite last minute, and with the move, and I just finished Witcher onto the vertical drama. I didn't have time to learn the changes or anything, and I had to step back. I replaced myself with an actor, so I'll hopefully go and see that. But theatre would be. Whenever I watch it, I finish it and I'm like, I need to do this. It's such a different kettle of fish as opposed to screen acting. The buzz you must get from it. I remember it from when I was younger doing musical theatre and just the audition process, and as I've said many times, the working together and that collaborative process of all of it, I absolutely love that. So that would be something I would be looking to get into a bit more. I'm just trying to create a space in which I can afford to do so.
Cool.
The mortgage doesn't stop coming. Every month it's there.
You can say that again.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hey, I think that really covers, kind of like an introduction to Neil Bishop. I want to thank you so much for being on the United Filmmaker podcast, and I hope I see you soon.
Thanks a lot, Greg. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the United Film Podcast. We are a self-funded organization looking to broaden and diversify the filmmaking culture here in London. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. It is through our listeners that we gain recognition and are able to fund new initiatives with this podcast. Thank you.